I watched the first episode, I got sucked in like immediately.
It's so engrossing. It's one of those shows where you watch it, you're like, oh, that was really cool or entertaining, but then you're like, oh, but the next episode. Hi, this is Juniper.
Hi, this is Elle.
And today we want to talk about a drama that we're currently both chasing, which has never occurred before, right? We've always talked about something that's been aired like months or years ago, and we're like, oh yeah, let's talk about that because we really like it. Anyways, this is a new drama currently airing, at least as of this recording time, called The Double. In Chinese, it's called 墨雨云间, which will make no sense to anyone, not even to me, to be honest. It's like what? Dark rain, inky rain, and within the clouds or something. Anyways, so I digress. We both are really enjoying it. I am up to episode 27 or 8 of 40, so it's a 40 episode planned drama. Whereas Elle,
I'm up to 15. I'm following on YouTube, and YouTube's only releasing one episode a day.
Yeah, so it's on YouTube on the Youku channel, but I'm watching it on the Youku member platform, international, so I get more episodes. And I guess I'm doubled your episode count too. So I'll try not to get ahead of myself because you're only up to 15, but we wanted to really make a quick episode about it just because we're really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. It is. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. So I was gonna say I did see it being promoted on YouTube, but I was like, oh, I don't know what this is. I don't actually know the actors or actresses. And then you came and you were like, this is really good. My friend's watching it. You should watch it. And then I watched the first episode. I got sucked in like immediately.
It's so engrossing. It's one of those shows where you watch it, you're like, oh, that was really cool or entertaining, but then you're like, oh, but the next episode, oh, it's going to be even more, it's very titillating to watch.
Yes,
basically.
yes.
It's not like high art per se, but it's like I compare it to, I think I said this in the last pod, and I said this to you often when we were talking about it offline, which is it feels like you're watching Shakespearean opera plus kabuki theater all rolled into one. So it could be super, if done wrong, it could be super awkward and cheesy and bad, right? Because think about it, theater is very fake in some ways, right? And the situation, come on, the scenarios that happen in this show are just so extra, like outrageous, right?
Right. Just the opening sequence.
Exactly. But it's very fast-paced, extremely entertaining, extremely satisfying to watch. And the way they've executed it and acted it out, I mean, casting and acting all have a huge contributing factor to this, just makes it such a good watch. You're just like, it's like watching Dynasty back in the 80s. Well, I think for people who understand soap opera, right? They're like, oh, the best of soap opera. This is it. Like, it gets you on the edge of your seat and just like, I want more. I want more. Screw the reality aspect, right? You just want more.
Right.
So you started watching because of me, and I started watching because our mutual friend started watching it, and he was like, oh, you should check this out, which, I always take recommendations from people and try to go check something out. I mean, this is why we're doing this pod, right? So others might do the same when they hear us talk about stuff.
Yeah, so the things that really, one of the elements that sucked me in initially was the use of the camera work and the music. So, so there's this thing that they do, and they do it continuously up until episode 15. They're still doing it, which is where certain times the actors, it's not just the main actors, right? It could be side characters or even like the most unassuming characters. When they're talking to another person, suddenly the camera is in front of their face, and they look like they're looking at you. Like you feel like the person that they're talking to. And visually, it was jarring at first. Like, it didn't break the fourth wall for me, but it was like, oh, it feels like they're talking to me. They're definitely looking at something that's not right in the camera lens. There's something that they're looking at right off the corner of the camera. But you almost feel like you're part of the story. And then the music, I noticed the music is not your typical like ancient music, right? There's some actually modern use of like mystery music. I don't know, mystery music.
Well,
is the
at
thing,
some
but,
point, and this might be later beyond the episodes you watch. I noticed this like I think last night or the night before when I was catching up on my episodes that there's a harpsichord somewhere in there that they use too when they get wittier scenes between the male lead and the female lead, which you don't get as much up from even up to episode 15. So those are all things to, by the way, to be aware of, right? Like if you're watching it for a romance, it's not really a pure romance. It's okay. Should we? So let me go back. I'm sorry, I kind of disrupted your flow, so I apologize. But what I hear you say is what sucked you in was the visuals, and it is very visually beautiful, like the colors, and it's very filmic or cinematic the way they filmed it. And it doesn't look like mostly, like, especially Yuku dramas where they way heavily filter things into like violet tinge. Right, and you're like poor Starry Love, right? We love Starry Love, but we did not love the look of the color filters and the way they made everyone look like they were from like a sun-faded 90s, movie poster. So that's the opposite here. Colors were very vivid. Sometimes I question if these colors really existed back in the ancient times. I mean, they don't say what dynasty or what time frame. It's like a made-up time, right? And dynasty. But you go, wow, did they dress this pretty like back in the day? The use of the color red, which our male lead, his red is, I'm like, that is the nicest shade of red. Maybe it's the way he wears it, but it's like the way they have to film it too, right? You're like, that is a nice shade of red, and he loves wearing red, and she does also wear red, right? So there's like a color is playing something,
as does the other male lead. I don't know if he's considered a lead, but the two men wear red. And the main,
the cousin,
the ex,
the scholar,
the ex. Yeah, the scholar.
He's just the ex, right?
Yeah, I'm confused because in the posters, the cousin is considered second. It sounds like second male lead.
Oh, maybe we should tell people what the story is about so they're not confused, right? Because we started with gushing about how just immersive and pretty and just like enthralling the whole thing is. It is like for all the senses, I feel like. But the short story, let me just give a clue to everyone, is it's about a woman, right, named Xue Fangfei, who assumes the identity of another girl who is wronged by her family and takes on revenge for both of them, because Xue Fangfei also was basically framed and murdered or almost murdered by her husband. And for most of the show, the female lead is known as Zhang Li, which is the identity of the other girl she assumes. And along the path of revenge, she also meets and gets more and more help from our male lead, who is Su Guogong, or Duke Su. Very powerful Duke, right? Who is helping the emperor kind of investigate the bad guys and all, because there's like
corruption.
Different court factions happening. So there's like a political struggle and power. And scheming, there's a lot of scheming by everyone within family units, in the court. But the heart of the story is about a tale of revenge by this woman who has now assumed a fake identity. And I'm not one to watch revenge dramas, to be very clear. I don't like that. And I'm not like, I have to have a strong female lead, but they really, to me, hit the ball out of the park on this one in terms of giving me a very satisfying revenge drama. I mean, is it realistic? Again, no, but it's satisfying because she really outsmarts everyone, right?
Yes.
Like, and gets like you just waiting for the bad guys to get their comeuppance or have some of the plan backfire, right? Or see how she's gonna get through that next hurdle they throw her way, and maybe the male lead will come in and help her, right? Because he's really there for at least for the first half of the show to be this, I think,
he's like a guardian angel.
He is, but he's also there to observe. He likes to watch. Yeah. Like he calls it like theater. He's like, I love watching the theater. Like, why don't you perform another show for me? Meaning, I know what's going on. I like to see what happens next. You're my pawn, right? And I want to see what happens. But he also makes sure no harm comes to her.
So it's interesting, like, as if you think about it, right? Like he sees the world almost in a very cynical, jaded way because
Yes.
everyone is wearing a facade and everyone has an agenda,
including him.
Yeah, oh yeah, including him. Because I don't think at this point I have not seen enough of his backstory. They revealed a little bit as some childhood stuff, and then they have not disclosed further. But as of episode 15, but the way he there's one scene like in episode 15. There's like a specific pivotal scene, and then it's so funny because I was reading the comments and people are like, look how much pride he has in his eyes. Like he's so proud of her because
his eyes, yes.
Yeah, like because everyone's like, oh, we have to help the Zhang Li, and then he's like, Zhang Li, and then he's like, no, don't underestimate. You're underestimating her.
Yes.
Like right?
Faith in her. He's like, she can get herself out of this, but if she's really in the bind, he will. So you have gone there later. She obviously continuously gets into more and more like binds because of the people all out to get her, right? Yeah. And he does show not remorse, but like he cares. So I think that's the other thing. Like I said, right? If you expect this to be a grand romance on the get-go, it really isn't. Because the movie barely features a lot more than 5 to 6 minutes in the first few episodes, right? In fact,
I feel like there's some episodes you don't even see him.
Yes, there is. There's one specific episode I noted this specifically that he shows up for like the bookends, and you're like, I wonder if they did that on purpose because it was I forget what the episode. I think it was something about her past that she had to close the chapter on. So I felt it was appropriate that he didn't figure in it almost at all because it was about her past. He wasn't in her past necessarily. They hint that he sort of saw her on the street once, but it wasn't like a blatantly like, oh, he saw her that first time and it was love at first sight. Because I don't think that it was. I think you think it's meant to be love at first sight, but I don't think so. He just likes to observe.
He just remembered her face.
And he knows she's interesting. And the more interesting she is, the more I think he's enthralled by her. And then I think the romance starts gradually between the two of them because he is a very good-looking man too, right? So,
yes. Just to backtrack a little bit. So this drama is based on a novel, and in the original novel, the girl actually dies and is reborn, and so they changed it here to where she didn't die, but everyone believes that she's dead.
Yeah, suspension of logic.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Watching this show requires some of that, but it's not in like a painful way. You happily do that because you're like, it's so entertaining.
But I love that, and so I only read the first chapter of the novel. I plan to read more, but I do love that because she has taken on the identity of this other girl. Even when she crosses paths with the people who wronged her before she died, and they're very, so the name in English I think is very apt, right? The double, like she's like the doppelganger, and they think she just happens to look like the dead Fu Yan, I don't know her title, lady, but
original Fei.
Yeah. So they're very like disturbed. They think they're seeing a ghost, and they're like, oh my god,
I
what
love
she look
that
just
by
like her?
the way.
Yes.
The way she terrorizes them with like, the things she says.
Yes, she says these things that are like they all have double meanings because they work in the context of her new identity, but then they reference back to things her old identity, and you can tell they're very scared because this is also ancient times where you
believe in ghosts and people coming to haunt you if you did them wrong. It's very witty, right? It's a very witty script. Plot logic aside, and it's not because some of that is all based on the novel, but also because it has to do certain things to lend itself to the dramatic needs of the show to be entertaining. Like nobody wins 100% of their battles, right? Whereas female lead basically wins not like 120% of their battles, and that could get very boring very easily, right? In a lot of shows, but not in this one. This is satisfying to watch.
Yes. And it's so when I first started watching, I think I mentioned to you that it reminded me of a really old Chinese drama, Princess Wei Yang. I don't know if I'm saying it right. So that one came out a long time ago. It's still on Netflix. That's starred Tiffany Tang, and that was also based on a novel, and they also had to change it. But I did read the novel for that one. The novel was actually better. It was also a rebirth story, and then she comes back to avenge her own death. So she tries to change her own fate, right? But because of censorship, that they just made it like she was like a double. And I felt like that one actually did not execute as properly because you don't get the revenge. The revenge is not sweet, and the scheming is not sweet because it just ends up being like a regular historical drama or historical, yeah, like a political drama. And this one, the revenge, the way they do, like I said, the music and the camera work, it reminds you that this is a revenge drama. It reminds you like it's not like she just becomes Zhang Li and then that's it.
Yes.
Like they, you know what I'm saying?
It doesn't take itself super seriously, even though the subject matter is super serious. Now, I'm not saying this is a comedy. It has a very well balanced.
Oh, there's a lot of comedy.
There is a lot of comedy, and there's some weird, bad, wacky stuff that's physical, and then there's like wink, wink. I would say it's a very tongue-in-cheek approach. It's very knowing. That's why I say it's very theatrical. It knows what it's doing. It lets the audience in on it, and it's like there's a lot different layers of like tongue-in-cheek and knowingness here, and it serves the story well because between the audience and the characters and the story there is that, right? Like this is a revenge drama. It's here to serve up the goodies. And there is some irony and funny moments even as like horrible things are happening. But then there's also that layer between the main CP, the female lead and the male lead when they have their encounters, which that's what they mostly have in the first 13 episodes. It's like encounters, right? There's that wink wink college, like I know that I'm not that person, and I know that you're secret, but I'm not gonna call you out on it. Are you gonna tell me? Or let's see what you do with that, right? Are you gonna squirm? He likes to see people squirm, just like she likes to see her target squirm. So they're very similar in that way. But when the two people who are like that meet each other, it's a very fun dynamic. Like it's like a duel of wits, right?
I think they recognize the intelligence in the other person, and they appreciate that. It's not like I see you as competition now. It's like, we have different agendas, but somehow they end up being on the same side. You know what I'm saying?
Because both of their cores are good.
Yes.
And maybe she wants his makeup secrets. I don't know. He's got, that's a big thing, right? On the internet, they're like, tell me, Su Guogong, your eyelining secrets, because I want eyeliners. Like I want your eyeliner.
I didn't even know. Did you see the video I sent you of him getting his makeup done? Yes. And they actually made it like female eyes, like they curled his lashes. Did you see that one?
There was an interview between the two leads, and she was like, "Oh yes, they do his makeup first next to me or something like that." And they drew the liner all the way to his temple, and then it comes to me. It's like, what is this? Like, how come he gets like the better look?
He does look good because I noticed he looks different when he's not.
He's very mesmerizing. Like they made him. His character is supposed to be super, his aura of mystique, and he's supposed to be a very good-looking man, but also like threatening, right? Like he's kind of dangerous. Yeah. But he's mesmerizing overall, and I think the actor really carried it off. And before I forget, I think we talked about this offline too, which is I'm like, he's kind of like another Chen Xinxu. Not like Chen Xinxu per se. He doesn't have that male, like older maturity. Well, he looks old for his age. He's 22. She's 33. There's a 12-year difference, 12-year difference between them. And I think before the show, people were like, no way are they going to work. In fact, Yu Zhen, the producer for this show, was casting. So he casted the women first because they worked together before. They're both part of his management company, so they both work for him technically. But people are like, oh, who's the male lead? Who's the male lead? And he's like, I can't find one, basically. And people are like, oh, what about Wang? So the female lead actress is called what's her name? Wu Jinyan, right? She was famous from the story of Yangtze Palace. The male lead, pretty much up till now, has only been like major supporting roles, right? In bigger dramas for Yuzhen and others, and maybe leads in more minor web dramas. But his name is Wang Xingyue, and he's only 22. So people are like, oh, what about him? And Yuzhen was like, are you kidding me? This is not a sister-brother romance like 姐弟恋, like a May December. Yeah, he's like, don't be funny, right?
No,
so
but people
I think
recommended him.
Yes,
That's interesting.
So it's good that he actually changed his mind and cast him, because my God, could you tell that they had a 12-year difference? Could you care?
No.
It's hot. It's sizzling chemistry.
You can tell she's older, but I think it works because she was married. I mean, like
she was 19. She's only 19 in the show.
In the story?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize she was supposed to be that young.
Suspension. They talk about it. They suspend disbelief here, okay? But
okay.
You don't go, oh my God, what an old hag, or whatever.
No. She's
to be a young lady.
I would pin her at mid to late 20s, though. I still wouldn't think she was on the younger end. Oh, speaking of younger, there's another actress that I was really shocked at. The girl that plays her sort of, not like servant.
Her maid.
Her maid, yes. Yeah. Tong? Is it Tong? How do you say her name?
Or something. She's so pretty.
She's so pretty. But so the interesting thing is, I noticed they kept panning to her face. And for a side character, she got a lot of like just non-speaking. She's very pretty, right? And then I was reading the comments on YouTube. They're like, oh, I can't believe she was only 13 or 14 when she filmed. I was like, what?
Not this. She was 15, I think, when she filmed this. She was 13 or 14 for others. She's 15
now.
One.
When did they film this? Because she's 15 now.
Year. Oh, 14 maybe. I don't
14. Know. But still, 14. She did not come off 14.
She's mature looking for a 14-year-old.
She's really mature.
But she's been acting, right? You said since when
6,
she was in the womb. Yeah.
She's a child actor. I don't know her from other things.
So don't try to guess the real ages of people in this show, because you will fail. You will miss the mark by about a decade.
Yeah, all the students looked really old to me. Oh yeah, so when she enrolls in school, I was like, what kind of school is this? Like, is this supposed to be a high school level school? Is this college level school? You know what I'm saying?
And why do they all look like Florence Nightingale in their school uniform?
It was kind of like it kind of came off kind of Hogwarts, like with like the different things they had to compete in.
CGI battle almost. You're like, wait, when did music contests become CGI boss battles?
I was like, is she Gunyam? Like is she like a bad version of Gunyam? I didn't know what was happening.
Yes. Some of it went that was probably more out there. You're like, oh, they really what did they do that for? But it's still good. It doesn't detract from the show per se.
Yeah.
Right. So go ahead.
Yeah, I just so I don't forget. Like, so when you talk about Duke Soo wearing like red, I did notice like the fabrics in this are very nice. Like the quality of the costumes, because there's a lot of when they're walking and they do a lot of slow-mo. It flows. You can tell it's heavy, dense material.
Yeah.
That is
like layers and layers, not polyester. I mean, it might be polyester, but it doesn't look
very
like
well
polyester.
Done. Yeah, whatever material they're using, it's high quality in that it has weight to it, and so when they're walking or spinning around or whatever, it looks very luxurious, like to the eyes. Yeah. So that definitely.
So I guess we've kind of gushed all over the place about the show. It just shows how. That's why I want to talk about it. We really haven't said anything other than just watch it, because it is so good and entertaining without even knowing the ending yet, right?
Yeah, we don't know the ending.
I mean, if this was a bad ending, like meaning a sad ending, I'd be okay with it, but I'm not expecting it to be. I don't think the novel had a bad ending.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's a bad ending. It's almost like it's a revenge. So
yeah, it's a perfectly wrapped theater like what do you call it? Gift. Like what do you call
package?
Yeah, package, right? It's like neatly wrapped. It has to be neatly because everything else is so neatly wrapped. I would be very surprised if it was a sad ending, because then it kind of goes against everything else the show has been doing up till. But I'm already almost at episode 30, so I'm almost done, right? If they were to go totally in the different direction, I'd be like, what happened? Did you change script writer? Like, did you change directors and script writers, or maybe the censors? But I feel like if the censors were gonna do anything, they would have changed so many other things up till where we are respectful of that already. Because there's a lot of potentially risque, racy, not sexual. Right? What I mean is controversial things that happens in the plot.
Mm-hmm. And we definitely will regroup to talk about it once it ends.
In more detail for like 5 hours, yes.
Yes, because we didn't touch on any of the other characters. I did want to touch upon like her half-sister and all that. The one thing I do want to end on, because I have not watched as many episodes, is like the only thing that really burdened me when I'm watching it is that because she took on this identity of the other girl who is dead in the story. I feel bad for all the people that she's duping, like all the people that believe she is.
Eventually they'll find out that their daughter.
I'm assuming eventually her real identity will come out, right?
Yes,
and then
they don't realize that this girl, the real girl she replaced, is already dead.
Yes. It's not like the real girl is locked up somewhere and she's like, right, that girl's actually dead. So the only thing is, and not knowing what the future episodes are to come, the only thing I'm like sad about is like all these people are so happy to see her, they love her, and then they're gonna find out. I'm assuming they're gonna find out that she is not that girl. So that's the only thing I'm worried about. I'm worried about as a viewer.
They started to. I feel like they're going down that route a little bit with the girl the real Zhang Li's dad. But I also think about it this way. What she's doing, and she does say this, is to kind of help Zhang Li live the life that's owed her. And get the revenge
she would have gotten.
Right, the justice she ought to get. And part of the harm that came to her, the wrong, was from all of her family. So in that sense, right, I think that's maybe one way they would justify it. But anyways, we, this for kind of just to say, hey, it's really entertaining, you should watch it. Oh, forget. One of the things I would say that if you were to liken this to another show, for people who watch, I think, My Journey to You, in some ways, this reminded me somewhat of that, though I think this is a better show. My Journey to You is too stylized and too slow, and the plot was kind of like, that's it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas this one is so much more fast-paced, smarter. Not that My Journey to You was dumb. And the acting is just, overall, the cast is so much better than My Journey to You. And in fact, the girl, the maid, some of the characters in this, actors show up in My Journey to You. So that's probably why it made me think of that too. But it's like that, both shows are very different from your typical C-drama, cosmic drama. It's very refreshing. It's so entertaining. And even with My Journey to You, you kept watching because you wanted to know what happens next. This one, even more so. So watch it, you won't regret it. That's all I will say for now. We'll regroup, right? We will. To talk about everything.
No, I'm really enjoying it. So
I can't wait to finish the show, but I'll be so sad when I'm done. Like, I'll be like, oh, no more. And then I'll go back and rewatch it. Because there is, I will say, high rewatch value. Not for the plot, right? Because you already know. But there's a lot of, like, dramatic situations and scenes. We talked about this, I think, in one of our previous conversations. Like, is it a show that has rewatch moments or even highlight reels? And this one is full of them, especially between the main CP. Because, like I said, they're very much about encounters, at least at first. Each of those encounters is so titillating. You're just like, there's more happening here.
Yes. And it's meaningful. It's meaningful every time they meet.
And cutting together all of their encounters into one story. And that would be a story into itself.
I'm sure there'll be
someone's probably doing it already. Yeah, someone's already doing it. So, all right. So we'll regroup on this, and once you caught up more, and hopefully by then we'll both have finished the show, and we can talk about it in more detail. Until then,
sounds good. Yeah. Bye.
Have a good one.